Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. The Augmented Triad is a beautiful, very distinct sound that you can add to your playing. In this video I'm going to go over a solo on a 12-bar blues, and I'm first going to play the solo, then I'm going to analyze it and talk about where I'm using the Augmented Triads and also what kind of sound that adds to the sound of the chord. Having different sounds available in your vocabulary is really important if you want to play solos that don't sound the same all the time. And the Augmented Triad is a favorite of quite a few famous players like Sonny, Rollins and Rosenwinkel. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, improve the way that you solo, or check out some interesting scales or chord voicings, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. Let's first check out what the solo sounds like, and then I'm going to go over a few ways that you can practice Augmented Triads as arpeggios or in the context of a scale before I start analyzing and breaking down the solo. The Augmented Triad is a major triad with a raised fifth. So that means that if we have a B flat, let's take B flat because that's the key of the blues. So we have B flat major triad. And then I'm raising the 5 here up to a sharp 5. And then I have this sound. It's B flat, D and F. And the distance between all the notes in this Augmented Triad is a major third. So I have a major third from B flat up to D, and also from D up to F sharp or G flat, and then again actually one more major third up to the next octave B flat. So that means that this triad is symmetrical, and if you make inversions of it, you get the same structure. Now this is useful for figuring out the fingerings of a triad, because if you're looking to practice this just as an arpeggio, then if you know a few, then you actually have sort of the whole neck covered, because every time you move up or down a major third, then you can use the same fingering. So 2 good arpeggio fingerings for this would be something like this one. And another one could be this one. Most of the time when you're using an arpeggio or a triad, then it's not just the arpeggio that you're thinking about, because the triad or the arpeggio is found in the context of some sort of scale sound. And when it comes to the Augmented Triads, then the way I'm using them in this solo, most of the time they are in fact found in a melodic minor scale. So just to sort of connect this a little bit from the B flat blues to a melodic minor sound, if we take sort of the Lydian dominant sound for a B flat 7, because that's also one of the things I'm using here in the solo, then that's the same as F melodic minor. And if you take the diatonic triads in F melodic minor, then you would have these triads. And here I have a few places where I come across the Augmented Triad. So I have the first one here is the A flat, because in F melodic minor the Augmented Triad is found on the 3rd degree, so on the A flat. So we have the first A flat here, and then another one here. And of course, even though I'm not playing inversions, but if you were to play the diatonic triads in inversions, you would still come across the other ones that are in there. As you'll see in the analysis, I'm using the Augmented Triad on alto dominance and on Lydian dominance, and I'm also using it once on a Dorian chord, and there's also one place where I'm using it in the context of a whole tone scale. The first 2 bars sound like this. So here I'm not using any Augmented Triads, it's just getting started with a solo and stating that it is a blues and keeping it simple. And then we move on to the next 2 bars where I'm using 2 different Augmented Triads and 2 different sounds where they occur. So in the first bar here, I'm first using a Lydian dominant sound on the B flat, so it's a B flat 7 sharp 11. And of course that's the same as F melodic minor, so I have an A flat Augmented Triad, and that's the first thing I'm playing. I'm using it as part of a triad pair. So a triad pair is really just 2 triads that don't have any common notes, and then you can start working with them in different ways. One way that's easy to play them and to make lines with them is really just to play them in inversions and then shift between them. So first the A flat here in this case, and then the triad I'm using, the other triad in the triad pair is a B flat major triad. So, and you could really continue this. I'm not doing it in this case, but you could continue that like this. And if I play that as arpeggio, so it'll be. So in that way you can create lines and you can mess around with that. The augmented triad is really good in triad pairs because it has a really strong color, so that works really well for making some interesting lines. The second part of this is using an augmented triad on the B flat 7 altered. So in the fourth bar here, we're starting to really pull towards the E flat 7, and the line is this. So I just start with the third, and then I'm playing the augmented triad, and the augmented triad in this scale, so B flat 7 altered is the same as B melodic minor, and that means that the augmented triad in B melodic minor is on the third, so that's a D augmented, and that's also the triad I'm using here, so D augmented, and then just descending down the scale, down, skipping a note down to the A flat, and then chromatically up to resolve on the fifth of the E flat 7, which is a B flat. So bar 5 and 6 is first going to the fourth degree, so the E flat 7, and then a way to get back from the fourth degree back to the tonic in bar 6 is to use a type of 4 minor chord. In this case I'm using the backdoor dominant, which is the A flat 7. So on the E flat 7, first it's just the fifth that I'm resolving to, skipping up to the third, and down to the ninth. And there's not really anything happening in terms of augmented triad sounds or anything like that. It's pretty simple. Then on the A flat 7, so A flat 7 is a Lydian dominant, and a Lydian dominant means that we're using the melodic minor from the fifth of this chord. So the fifth of A flat is E flat, and we're using E flat melodic minor. And the augmented triad that you have in E flat melodic minor is the one from the third, so the G flat, and that's also the first note on the A flat 7. So we are playing this, and that's just all augmented triad. There are no other notes in there, and then I resolve that to the fifth of B flat. Bar 8 is a G7 altered chord, and G7 altered is the same as A flat melodic minor. So the augmented triad that we have here is the B augmented triad, and that's also what I'm starting with. So the line sounds like this, and I'm really using the same kind of triad pair that I was using on the B flat 7 back in bar 3, because I'm using first an augmented triad, and then I'm moving up a whole step and using a major triad. So first we get the B augmented triad, and then a descending D flat major triad, and then I resolve that to the third of C minor. The reason I can keep on publishing videos every week is that I have a small community of people that are supporting the channel and helping me making videos over on Patreon. And if you want to help me keep making all these videos, then check out my Patreon page, and maybe if you join us over on Patreon, I can give you something in return for your support. The C minor 7 chord is of course really like a Dorian sound. It's a part of a 2-5-1 back to B flat, and it doesn't actually have any augmented triads in there. But I am using the one from G, and it's kind of creating like a melodic minor sound, and it works quite well because most of the time when you're playing lines with it, you end up playing lines that will resolve the tension of this B up to the root, so it's becoming kind of a leading note, and that's also what I'm using it for here. So I'm coming out on the E flat and then adding the augmented triad, and then immediately after that I resolve that tension to C by just really playing a C on B3 and then running up the scale. And then on the F7 altered, I'm again also using an augmented chord, and here is the one that's found on the third of the altered dominant, so the A, and I'm playing an inversion, so starting on the D flat, the flat 13, and then it's actually the same pattern, creating sort of a motif with that kind of movement. And then from there I'm just running down the scale, so resolving to the 5th of B flat 7. This last phrase on the F7 at the end of the chorus is really just there to take us to the next chorus, and I'm doing that by using the whole tone scale. The whole tone scale actually only has one type of triad, and that is the Augmented Triad, but it has two of them. So it has like first an A and then the B, and then you get the D flat, but that's really just the A one more time. So you kind of just have a scale with 6 notes, and it's a triad pair of Augmented Triads. The way I'm playing them is as triplets, so. And then I'm adding one final D flat just to take me up to the 3rd and the next chorus on the 1, so we can really hear that we're going to B flat 7. The way that I'm playing the triplets, that's maybe worthwhile mentioning here, is that I'm not putting the lowest note on the beat, so you don't get. I have it right before the beat, and that makes it a little bit more interesting, because you get the high note in the phrase in the middle of the triplet, and that works quite well melodically, just to give it a little bit more tension, and also opens up for me to just add that extra note so that I can resolve it. Of course, besides being able to play some interesting solos with some beautiful chord sounds in them, you also want to have the chord vocabulary to create a solid comp for a 12-bar blues. And for that you can check out this video where I'm going over some drop 2 voicings on the middle string set to create some really solid bob sounding chord voicings. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, and this is the first time you see one of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. These are the kind of videos that I publish every week. And of course, if you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.